Prominent politicians, celebrities, and activists are praising Joe Biden's historic choice for a running mate. Senator Kamala Harris is uniquely positioned to reach out to several constituencies and influence the presumptive Democratic nominee on policy initiatives, including women's issues, civil rights, and policing reform. Now she could become the country's first female, first Black, and first Asian American vice president, should Biden win the election. LaTosha Brown is the co-founder of the Black Voters Matter Fund. She joins me now from Atlanta. LaTosha, welcome back to Red and Blue. Thanks for being with us. What does this Biden-Harris ticket mean, in your view, for the 2020 race?
I think there's all kinds of implications. The first, which I think we have to celebrate and acknowledge, is it's historic, that we are at a historic moment, that this is the 55th anniversary of the voting rights movement and the signage of the Voting Rights Act. And we are on the eve of the 100th anniversary of the women's suffrage movement. And in between that, we know that there were women who are part of the suffrage movement, but Black women in particular, while they stood online with our white women counterparts, we did not receive protection for our right to vote till 50 years later. So in this particular moment, to have a Black woman that is literally possibly going to be that we believe that is going to be in the White House is a significant historic moment, particularly since Black women have been on the front lines and the vanguard of change in this country. The second thing is that I do think that it brings a burst of energy to the campaign. As Vice President Biden said that he had his largest fundraising day yesterday. I think that is reflective of the kind of energy that she is bringing to the ticket, that people are energized because I think they want to see something different. They also want to see the ticket be more reflective of America. She does uniquely represents the Asian community, the Black community, working class communities. I think that she brings, as women, a woman of color, I think that she brings a certain kind of perspective and know-how and knowledge base to the table as well. And I think the third thing is, right now we're less than 90 days since the election. And I think this is a turning point. I think it's a turning point where now people are setting in that we don't have that much time left, and it's really important. I have been getting phone calls all day from people who have kind of been, they've been paying attention, but not really, but actually it's like they've been renewed. Their commitment to this election is renewed. So I think it's a very significant turning point, and I commend Joe Biden for making such a choice and actually showing the possibility of his own transformation as a leader in this country.
Can you talk more about that, LaTosha? I mean, how will this platform with the Biden-Harris ticket, you think, resonate with voters? You talk about getting calls and hearing from people who do seem to be enthusiastic now. How do you think this choice can help Joe Biden tap into voters who maybe weren't so enthusiastic or who hadn't made up their minds yet?
I think anytime that we're actually seeing, a more inclusive ticket, that we know that those tickets do well. When we're thinking about in recent years, in 2018, when we saw the flood of women who were elected in office, we're seeing more women run, we're seeing more people of color run, because I think people are demanding that we want to see a reflective democracy, that when we see the Trump administration, for the most part, what we see is old white men, most of them. Every once in a while, he might have a woman here or there, right? But literally, when we start seeing positions of power and when we're seeing on the stages, I've seen examples of just all white men on the stage. That is not reflective of America. That's not reflective of where we are or is reflective of where we're going. And so I think this ticket is more reflective to the representation of Americans. I think that this ticket gives an excitement even in terms of age diversity. They're not just diverse they're diverse as it relates to gender, they're diverse in background, they're even diverse on some ideologies. I think that there's an alignment, but I think that there's enough diversity there that creates a robust opportunity for us to have a dynamic agenda if both of them are working together in concert. And I think we see also a diversity around with their backgrounds and their perspectives. I think that is what actually makes the democracy stronger. That not when you have one person or one party that's dominating or one particular ideology, but that when you are able to actually bring people together from diverse backgrounds and ideas for a common goal that are in alignment with each other, that's when we really get things done in this country.
We've talked to you before, LaTosha, about the work you do with your organization. Where is your group focusing its efforts now that we are less than 90 days from the election? Because as you have seen, there has been a concerted effort to undermine the notion of mail-in voting.
We're educating people. There are two big pieces that we want people to know. One, it's really critical because of voter suppression that we think it's very critical for people to vote and get information early. For people to have information around where to vote, to make sure that they're registered to vote, to make sure that they know that they're registered, they checked off with that, but also that we want people to know the process because it is different. That in COVID-19, many people are not going to go to the polls and stand in lines, right? And as they shouldn't. And some instances, in some cases, particularly when their health could possibly be jeopardized, but that they don't know information around how do I do an absentee or mail-in ballot? How do I participate in early voting? And so a lot of the work that we're doing now is really educating people on early voting. We're also doing a lot of work on mobilizing on training organizers on how do you organize in these special circumstances. You can't do door-to-door canvassing in the same way that we've done it traditionally. So we have to find other creative ways to connect with people and make sure that they're inspired, motivated, and have the tools to vote. So that's a lot of the work that we're doing currently at Black Voters Matter.
LaTosha Brown, LaTosha, thank you so much for sharing your perspective with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.